So, Derek, most of us have now played Super Mario Wonder, or Super Mario Bros. Wonder. This game is 10 days old, and as a Nintendo fan, that may as well be the end of time. Everyone's played this game by now. GVG have done a big scripted video on this game. Brandon headed that one and did a great job about that. But he is only one man. We are a whole group of people who all have diverse and different feelings about Mario Wonder. And now that the honeymoon period has kind of worn off, how are you feeling about this? Has your opinion changed since the first time you played it? Has it grown? Has it kind of depleted? Where are you at?
So Mario Brothers Wonder makes a fantastic first impression. There's just no doubt about that. It is just charming right out of the gate. But I think as you sort of sit down and think about it, you don't notice, it's maybe not so much flaws, but stuff that it doesn't quite excel as much as you might hope, because I think it is a wonderful game. Definitely the best 2D Mario since Super Mario World. Let's be honest about that. It is absolutely the case. This thing might as well be Super Mario Brothers 5 for all intents and purposes. It's just wonderful in that account. So I'm not taking that away, but I have seen some say that they think it's the best 2D Mario now. And while it certainly gives that impression that it could do that at first, I do think it sort of drops a bit the further you go in. But I still really, really enjoyed it. That's the thing.
It's interesting because when we first played like Super Mario Bros. 3 and Mario World, the whole Mario franchise was sort of still establishing itself. So the whole, the whole wonder of just what Mario is was still pretty fresh. So you could do just a pretty generic, point A to point B side-scrolling level in a desert, in a water world, and a lava world. And it still had a pretty big wow factor behind it. But those games have also stood the test of time. You can play Mario 3 today, and even though you are just in the desert world, it doesn't feel overdone. It still feels so fun to play through those levels, just because they're so well designed. So just the core platforming on its own can hold up, regardless of how much you're pushing the themes. But it is important that Mario Wonder does push those themes, especially after what New Super Mario Bros. Did, was essentially it just went through the primary colors for its themes for 5 games. Right? There's the DS one, the Wii one, the 3DS one, the Wii U one, and the other Wii U one. So 5 games. It's always do the grass world, do the water world, do the desert world, do the lava world. And Wonder still has that, but it plays with it in a far more robust way. One of my favorite worlds in this game was the desert world, which is usually the one that I want to avoid at all costs. But they give you so many different ways to play around in the desert. They change the color palette up. They make you go through palaces, and it just feels different and exciting. And I think that is important for bringing Mario forward. I never just want to go through those templates again, and Wonder definitely thrives with that.
A strength of Mario Wonder really is how much they can diversify between each world. Each one sort of has a theme. Like World 1 is so much more massive than you expect. So many levels stuffed into World 1. Just establishing ideas or just seeing how far they can go. World 2 is, just kind of continues that theme. World 3, I think, is what shows, we don't have to follow the rules. We can just set it up as if these are just trials or whatever. And World 4 is all about, let's do puzzle solving mechanics on our desert. For a lot of these levels. It's really fun to see how they expand upon it. And then to just have these overworld levels in between each of the main worlds. You are constantly getting new things to see in this game, and I think it's to its benefit. It makes it feel open and interesting, and you want to explore, and you can find all these sort of fun things here and there. It's a game that really drives you to kind of want to do 100%. Because I absolutely 100% of this game, and I don't always feel that way. For Mario games, I don't know if I 100%ed but the new Super Mario Brothers games when I played most of them, but I'll be honest. But this one I just wanted to. Yeah,
you don't want to miss anything, which I don't think is ever really the case with a Mario game. Even when replaying Mario World, when we get to those sort of side-scrolling levels, auto-scrollers I mean, when it gets that cave auto-scroller with the bats that come down from the ceiling, I'm always I don't want to do this level. But with Mario Wonder, I never really got that feeling. And that may be because there are pretty much no auto-scrollers apart from the airships and the occasional Wonder effect. But like, you want to see everything. You want to see what gimmicks it has. You want to see what twists it has. You want to see what all the Wonder Seeds do. There is that feeling of just addiction to keep playing, which I don't think Mario's had in a 2D game, as you say, since World and Yoshi's Island. It's been a long time. But I think the one thing that kind of holds it back for me, and in the moment, it's not a big deal. Because in the moment, I think you're so enamored by how joyous the game is. Because there's so many incredibly smart design decisions that make this game just a joy to run through. But then you reach credits, you do the extra stuff, and you're just kind of like, I kind of wish I was challenged just a little bit more. Because as good as it is, as good as it all is, as fun as it is, there's very few moments I think about as being hurdles that I had to overcome. And I think that's kind of what I think back on in a lot of Mario games, like those tricky moments that made me feel good about overpowering them. Wonder has
there's a reason.
Yeah.
There's a reason everybody remembers the angry sun. Because that was a hurdle. You had to figure out how the heck to avoid that sun as a kid. Like, what do I do about this thing? It's actively chasing me. And I'm not used to that in a Mario game. What is happening here? It becomes less of a big deal as you go on, but that's the thing. You master that aspect. But I didn't feel like I had to master anything outside of really one level.
Yeah. I thought it was really cool how the special world levels are just part of the regular map. The first one I found was in World 2. I think it's probably the first one most people have found. It's that musical one where the blocks blink in and out with the beat of the backing track. And it's legitimately pretty tough, especially for something that you find really early on in the game. And it just sort of made me think like, I can't wait to see what the other special world levels are like. And some of them are so basic that I don't think I died once in a few of them. Some of them are literally just the Wonder Flower effects that iterate upon a previous one. Maybe ramp up the difficulty by like a notch, and then it's over. Nothing in the special world ever felt as cool as that first one that I found.
No, it's certainly... I think I found World 1 first, just because I was exploring World 1 so much, and I covered that one. It was like, oh, that's a pretty neat one. That's an interesting ramp up, but it's still World 1, so no big deal. Then you get to World 2, and it does have that impression, because that one took me a while. Didn't help I had my son nearby, like, yanking on my arm every so often, so that made it a little tougher. But it was still like, oh, man, these special worlds are really going to challenge you. Not really.
Not so much, yeah. It definitely does get more challenging if you do absolutely everything, because the final level, it took me a while. I don't know how long that took you, but I especially died in. I think it was like the middle section that got me a lot. Like the beginning wasn't so bad after a few tries, but that middle part definitely took me a lot of lives.
The middle part was definitely the worst because of the auto jump sequence.
Yeah.
That whole thing. By the way, spoilers abound for this sort of so I guess we should say that right off the bat. It's been how long? But yeah, apologies for not properly warning. But yes, we are going to kind of just dive into spoilers and just go sort of everywhere. But yeah, talking about the final level that you unlock, the badge challenge here, and it's a cool concept. It's like, hey, here's all these badges. Because I'll be honest, when I saw Mario Wonder in previews, like, I don't want to use the badges. That sort of takes away from the game. But no, they add to it. That's the impressive part here. Is they don't feel like you're lowering the challenge there. It just changes it up, and I like that aspect. I did not expect to enjoy it this much, to actively use them as much as I did, but. God, the auto jump sequence took me forever to get, and then you'd go back to the beginning, have to do all those sections again, and just get back to it. And I finally put it off, and then I got to badges like, oh, I like these badges. I know how to use these. I got to it, and there's a fourth section where you're invisible. I'm like, oh, I'm in hell.
Oh yeah.
I started. I think I went into there with about 70 lives, and you're constantly getting coins and extra lives. I think I finally beat it when I had about 15 lives left.
Man.
And I just had to figure out how you move as invisible to just try to get those sections and still collect the coins. And oh god, I was sweating when I was trying to go for the top of the flagpole.
Oh,
when I was invisible.
Yeah. The error of my ways is I forgot to keep buying standees throughout the game. And so when I was like farming the 10 coins to get all of them to unlock everything, I had like a counter that was at 999 for all the purple flower coins for I don't know how long. Hours and hours and hours. And then when I was doing that final level, I thought I'd go in and buy 99 lives. So I spent a bunch of the flower coins on lives as well. And so I haven't actually got all the standees. So I don't technically have 100% finished. My title screen is not black. It's just white at the moment. But I'm trying to farm those coins now because I wasted so. I neglected them. I should have been buying them throughout the game, but I forgot about them.
If you've been buying from the get-go, I basically used the Special Worlds shop after a while just to make sure I got all new standees and didn't waste the purple coins, which helped out again by dying so much because I think I went in with probably about 500 of those purple coins. I left with 999 because I was just dying over and over again. And I was like, oh, okay, I don't have to do the special coin things where you farm them because I just have enough to finish off the standees.
Yeah. As tough as this final level is, I think there's two things that kind of stand out to me. One, I'm glad that it exists because the previous final level that I thought was the end wasn't that challenging. The Wonder Seed Gauntlet. Like that one took me a couple of tries.
It was a little tricky, but nothing like you're not pounding your head against the wall. I did that and I'm like, oh, that was it. And I had heard friends talk about a final level. I'm like, oh, that was unfortunate. Then I got everything and I got a final level. I'm like, oh, okay, this is what they were talking about.
Yeah. But also it's not quite 3D Mario final level. Like, it's not Champions Road. It's not like the final Galaxy and Galaxy 2. Like it's tough. It definitely is, but it doesn't quite have that epic. This is the last level. This is the final gauntlet. This is overcoming everything. It does just kind of feel like a bunch of trials put together. While it is challenging, I never quite felt the same kind of reward that I did for finishing that final level in 3D World or in. Odyssey's was a bit underwhelming, to be honest, but in other 3D Marios, I never quite got that feeling.
Right. Yeah, I'd say that. I think that's the thing is there's not a lot of bite to this game. It's very much it's a comfortable ride throughout, which is fine. It might be trying to introduce a new. I mean, it has been how long since our last 2D Mario? We did get a new Super Mario Brothers Deluxe, U Deluxe, but. I can imagine this being a kid's first Mario and them wanting to ease them into it and all the wonder powers. It really feels like they went all in on the wonder powers and didn't worry about difficulty.
I do think if you were a kid playing this game, that this would just change your trajectory for what you are. Like, if I played this growing up, I think this would have made me like a lifelong Nintendo fan. Like, it feels so well designed. So full of so many ideas. Like there are wonder effects in here that you can make full games around. Like that little slime Mario that sticks to the walls. You can make a game out of that.
Easily.
Or like the big ball that rolls around smashing through things. You make a game out of that. You can make a game out of some badges like the Vine badge that's kind of like Spider-Man. You can make a game out of that. Like there's so many tiny ideas that they could hold their own, but they are mere bumps into what wonder even is. Which is kind of remarkable, but it also doesn't quite feel like, even with all these badges and all these wonder flowers, it doesn't quite feel like it's pushed as far as it can go. There was definitely more they could have done here, but even saying that, it probably is one of the most clever games of this year, but I still feel like it's not quite hitting the potential it could, though.
They had that interview and they said they had so many ideas and they had to pare it down, so I mean, a sequel could definitely, like, building upon this. I think we could easily get something that just takes these ideas or take more ideas and just seeing what else they could do with it and just expanding it even further. Could really do this. It feels like it could be just the start of something new.
Do Mario Wonder the Lost Levels? Like, just go stupidly hard.
Oh God. Here comes the poison mushroom. It's just a wonder flower effect. You're just getting chased by poison mushrooms the entire map.
I kind of want that, yeah. But I do kind of look forward to the inevitable Mario Maker 3 with the Mario Wonder theme. Because there are so many cool elements in here that you could go ham with if someone's just given unlimited access to whatever. Like, there's so many new enemies, so many different stage ideas, all the wonder effects. It does make you right when you put them side by side with the new series. It definitely puts that series in a different perspective. Like, if you didn't already think it was quite stale, then this is going to make it seem moldy. It's by the book. Whereas this, even if it isn't quite hitting the potential we want it to, it's definitely so many leagues ahead of what we had for decades at this point.
It's the personality we've wanted from Mario for a long time that we got, we would see a bit of in Luigi's Mansion, for example, where Luigi gets all this personality. And it feels like Mario is finally getting that as well in the main games, just with all the special little animations with going in the pipes and the greetings they have to the Poplins when you finish a level. And it's just adorable. It really sucks you into the level and gives you that extra personality for each of the characters. Because I don't know how you played. I've heard some people just go through entire worlds as one character and then swap off. I've heard people just play the entire game as one character. Personally, I was swapping characters constantly. I was going back and forth and all over and just seeing them and having all the interactions available, and just the way they went that extra step where every Yoshi kind of sounds different.
Yeah.
It's just this extra level of like personalization where it's, if you play this character, you're getting this character's personality. It's not just a palette swap, despite it being, them playing exactly the same.
I played a lot of it as Mario, which is just kind of vanilla, but I did swap every now and then to do some worlds as Daisy, some worlds as Peach. And it's definitely cool playing as different characters, which I guess is another thing that's kind of taken for granted when we were just kind of stuck as either Mario or whoever takes the multiplayer controllers for Luigi and Blue Toad and Yellow Toad in the previous games. But yeah, it's another wrinkle that just kind of adds more flavor to it. And the new actors are also pretty good. I don't think they're really given the spotlight to properly show their potential here.
Really.
But you do get some like falling sections where they just let out a big, like a 10-second scream. But the real star of the show in voice acting and direction are those little flowers who I thought would be annoying as hell, but no, they're delightful.
I think everybody's sort of been taken with them because I've started seeing them pop up in various meme formats online, and I think everybody's like, I think you're right. Everybody fully expected to hate these things. Like, oh God, this is going to get so annoying. But they found a way to balance it where it's kind of charming in a lot of ways and helpful in certain sections. So it's like kind of that nudge. It's like, oh, I think you missed something. That sort of idea. And just having them react to the things you do, or them screaming as you're falling around the section, or like it's sort of sardonic put upon character where it's like they're cheerful and want to help you, but sometimes they get bad things happen to them.
Yeah. It's typically the humor the internet doesn't like. Like it's kind of like awkward, or that just happened. Is that kind of humor, which usually gets pulled to death, especially with like MCU things. That's exactly what this is. But I think in the context of player inputs, it just feels different. And also, I found that they can relax you a lot of times. Like if there's a really challenging platforming area, and the flower just goes like keep breathing, like it kind of does relax you a bit, which is odd, but it works. Yeah,
I mean they definitely try to cheer you. I mean, honestly, it was their kind of tip that helped me get through the jumping section in the final level, where it's just like, if all else fails, just jump. And I'm like, all right, let's just keep that in mind and position myself, got the proper jumps and made it across. I'm like, okay, that works, and it just went for it. But it was also encouraging when you're in the ball form and they're just going, go, and you just
roll.
It pumps you up. Yeah. it pumps you up in a way. They help set the mood that they're trying to capture.
And there is a feeling of community in this game that is unlike anything else I've really ever seen. I didn't turn online on until World 3, and as soon as I did that, it changed a lot. Because suddenly you are playing alongside other people at the same time. People are just sort of playing the same level as you. And previously, I did one of those, those search levels where there's just hidden blocks and you've got to find like 5 coins. I did that on my own. I thought, okay, that was a little bit odd. You're just jumping at random places to find stuff. But then the next one I did, I had online on. It's like, oh, this makes more sense. You're meant to be working together. You're meant to all sort of be guiding each other to where the next things are. And that suddenly made sense. But what was really cool was that when I was just helping random players, like there was a boo house at one point, and there's a door that takes you to the flagpole, but if you keep running, you can just fall down an edge, which is kind of choreographed by like blocks on the side, but most players are going through the door. And I decided, I'll go down here, and I could see other players going through the door. So I was waiting outside of it, like jumping and crouching to try and guide them down to me. and one player came back through the door, saw me, and just like gave me that sort of smiley-faced emote and started ducking. It just feels good to have that feeling of community and help a stranger who you have no reward for it. Like, there's no need to do it, but it just kind of feels right to do that. And I've seen numerous examples of people helping each other, and it's so cool that, again, it doesn't have voice chat or text can convey that kind of feeling of co-op, and it's so unique.
Yeah, I honestly did not play with the community functions on too much, other than that when you mentioned the searching levels. That I felt the community really on, but I was also like, I try to keep it on for a level, and I had sort of the opposite effect. Is like I kind of distracted by a lot of the other characters running around, and I'm sure they can be a lot of fun and have that community and have that sort of co-op thing, but I'm the type that I like to find the secrets on my own type. Sure. That I want to search and do that sort of thing. When I was doing cleanup and having struggling with certain ones, that's when I turned it on, and that I did get the sense of the community when it was there, and it's great for first-time players trying to get a sense of what Mario is all about and getting it like where you need to go and helping each other out. Like you really do feel the community in that. Even from my limited time, I love that, and thanks to a charity race we did on this past Friday, Steve, Daniel, Brandon, and myself got to race through the levels. So we got into one of those private ones, those friend servers, basically, to play online, and you can't directly interact with each other, but you get to do those races, racing through the level, so you can finish at the fastest, and it changes up the feel of the game. Like, you're really going for it. You're really trying to get that perfect run and avoid other things, but also there's a bit of strategy to it where if you die, your ghost can still interact. So you're trying to use your ghost to catch up to them in order to get back to life and actually catch up and keep going. And it led to a lot of really fun encounters and situations, and just it really tested your skills as a Mario player. And I thought it was way more fun than anything of like, let's play together and just cause absolute chaos by getting each other's way constantly.
Throwing each other in lava, like by accident or on purpose. Like, it never quite... Like, there's a chaotic fun to it maybe, but it never feels deliberate. And usually it's just going to frustrate most people playing with you.
Yeah.
Whereas, I think this sort of anonymous kind of co-op, it's smarter. It just feels more fun. Maybe a toggle to provide both could have pleased everyone, but I'm happy with the direction they went with. I just wish, because you can die and come back by touching another player, I wish that was an excuse just to ramp up the difficulty more, because that kind of makes it even easier, because if you die, you can just come back again. Which, obviously, you need someone near you, but there were scenarios where I went like an optional path to get to the top of the flagpole, and one player missed the pipe, so they went on the lower path. And instead of just going to the flagpole, they saw I was up there, so they pressed R and L, which makes you into a ghost. And they just floated up to me, so kind of cheated taking that path. So you can definitely cheese levels by helping each other. So, like, I do kind of wish they made things a bit trickier, because there is an exploit to, overcome some of these scenarios. But it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's something that could be, like you said, we need a lost levels. Yeah. It's like, really challenge us type of thing. But yeah, it just has, it really just has a great vibe to it the entire way through. Just between the community aspect, the different wonder effects, the badges, the prince himself. And honestly, another thing that I found myself extremely charmed by that I did not expect in this game, it kind of feels like a Mario RPG in its story setup. Like, you could totally take this and expand upon it and make a full-blown Mario RPG. Because you have the introductions when you get there, you have a kind of story arc as you're going through that you're trying to solve, that you do solve by the end of it by beating that world. Like, there's more story here than you'd ever expect. It's not deep or anything like that, but it gives you mini goals to work towards and brings a cohesiveness to the entire adventure. That, like, wow, this does feel like you could just expand and all of a sudden you got a new Mario RPG.
Yeah, there's some worlds where it's like you have to help the poplins through the mines. There's one where it's like you do these trials. It just kind of recontextualizes levels in a very, very cool way. Yeah, you're totally right, though. Like, it isn't just like, oh, you finished that castle, here is the next world. It definitely feels like an adventure. something just continuously flowing. I do think what was kind of missing in the flow of the pacing was definitely boss battles.
Yes.
Because some worlds just don't have them. Like, you finish a world and it's like, okay, you got the King Seed, whatever it's called, and like there's just no boss. It's like, oh, is there going to be like, are we going to get crashed by Bowser back to the main world? Nope. On to the next one. And you're always expecting something extra. Now, the actual bosses that are there, I think, are fairly standard Mario fare. And I do kind of like how they play upon familiarity a little bit, especially with the first one. Because in the new Super Mario Brothers series, you would jump on Bowser Jr.'s head, he would spin, you'll jump on his head, he'll spin, you'll jump. That's it. That's all you do. And I like that the first hit is exactly that. Like, it feels familiar. And then he does that spell, and he grows, and all of a sudden it's something different. I like that, but it never really goes beyond that. Like, they try new wonder effects. Like, there's one where you're doing it over the water, but I don't know. It never quite feels different enough, and I wish that we even went back to the first New Super Mario Brothers, which had those unique bosses. They were just big enemies, but they were unique.
Yeah, it feels like a wasted opportunity. I think you could totally start with Bowser Jr. in that way, or maybe end with him with the more advanced one by the end one. However you want to use your Bowser Jr., it's fine. I think him as a boss once works fine. It's a fun, delightful thing to see how he changes up, see how the wonder effects affect him. But we have these wonder flowers. We have these wonder effects. Why are we not doing this with other characters, bosses, whatever, that you could really expand and change up how the bosses work? And it just becomes very rote. It's not exactly thrilling each time. It's like, all right, here we go again. Let's beat them up again. It's not, it lacks the imagination that the rest of the game has, which is very unfortunate, because you could just imagine, like, what could they do with a Goomba? What could they do with a Koopa Troopa? What could they do with one of these new enemies that they're constantly introducing? How do you fight them and figure out how to work around their wonder power? There's so much more potential there, and it just feels like it never taps into it.
Yeah. I don't think 2D Mario bosses have ever been anything extraordinary. Like, when I think back about Mario bosses, I really like Mario Land 2. But they're all super easy. You just jump on their head 3 times, they give you invincibility frames, that's it. But they feel unique, though. And even Mario World, like, a lot of them aren't tough. You just jump on their heads when they appear, that's it. But they leave an impression, and nothing Mario Wonder really does. However, I do think a lot of this game really is genius. Like, you can focus on parts that are lesser, and yes, they are lesser. But the overall whole, I think, just leaves this brilliant flow behind it, that those small bits don't really they only stand out because the rest of it's so good.
They're nitpicks. They're nitpicks. There's like, man, I wish I could just be a little bit better. I wish I could just be a little bit tougher. That said, like, as much as I'm not a big fan of the Bowser Jr. fights, the final Bowser fight, I think that's a very novel way, like a way they introduced like those elements throughout the entire game, and then introduce this brand new thing at the very last moment before you fight him, and it works. I had a lot of fun with that boss fight. It was very unique for a Bowser boss fight, because how do you handle fighting Bowser as a castle? Well, here you go. But it also does fall into the old tropes of, it's a face with two hands.
Nintendo have done that so much. Like the Mario 64, like Gollum guy. You've got the Bongo guy from Ocarina of Time. You've got Wind Waker, who's got that guy. You've got Andros. You've got Octavio from Splatoon. Like, it's endless. We could do a top 10 on floating hand Nintendo bosses at this point.
You could do a full list, and I think people would be surprised how often that trope has been used by Nintendo.
Yeah. But
so
it is a
I
very
like
good
the boss
fight,
itself,
though.
but design-wise. Honestly, what really... Because we haven't even talked about it. Level 2 has to be the most charming level in the entire game. There's other music levels like that, but I don't think any of them quite match what level 2 pulled off. They got to it a little bit with one of the special world levels, but still.
Yeah.
It made me want an entire Mario game based around music in that way, where you're platforming, but it's like has that musical theme to each one that changes it up. And even the final boss with Bowser, who's going for the rock theme, like, yeah, you could totally do that. Would just get different musical themes, like World 1, classical music, World 2, pop, World 3, rock, World 4, K-pop. I don't know,
That'd be amazing,
something like
yeah.
that.
They definitely saw those Rayman Legends musical levels, and I cannot believe they didn't, because there's numerous points, especially towards the end, where he does like a little pose, which is just like how Rayman does at the end of his musical segment. But you are right though, nothing quite tops that second one. One thing this game is very good at is like it introduces an element, like any Mario game would. It iterates upon it, and then oftentimes the Wonder Flower just goes ham with whatever that was. So like level 2, it introduces piranha plants that come out of pipes and then walk out. So like all of a sudden piranha plants are different now. And then you get the flower, and all of a sudden they're not like after you. They just want to give you a little performance, and it's so shocking. It's just kind of.
Yeah.
I'm so glad they didn't
killing them.
Yeah, I'm so glad they didn't reveal this in a trailer, because a lot of these wonder effects were in trailers. And so actually, like when in the grand scheme of things, I don't think there were that many wonder effect surprises in here. There were a couple, but a lot of them are, oh yeah, I saw this one in the trailer. I saw this one too. I kind of wish they didn't reveal as much as they did, but that flower one in particular really does get you, especially so early on.
I think that's why a lot of people are just immediately like, it's a good, like, because level 1 is kind of nothing. To be honest, it's like, here's the elephant power up, and that's about it. There's only Goombas. There are no pits. It is very much a Kirby-esque level 1.
Yeah. And then there's that one with like the bouncy hippos, and I think I got that Wonder Flower after just bouncing off one of them. I'm pretty sure I just went boing and got the seed immediately.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly tough. Although I guess we should mention the power-ups real quick.
Yeah.
Because I think we're close to wrapping up here. We got Elephant, we got Bubble, and we got Drill. And honestly, I pretty much agree with Brendan's assessment of each of them. Bubble is absolutely the standout.
Yes.
And just in how functional it is. Elephant is fine. It works for the theme. I was like, why elephant for the longest time? And then I happened to see in their the Poplin's houses, they'd have an elephant water bucket, like a water pail. And that's the theme. It's like, because we're watering flowers. That's why we're an elephant, so we can pour out water. That sort of idea. And I like the power. It's fun. It's neat.
It's different.
But it's different. I think that's why it stands out quite a bit. I don't think it's especially great, but it's different and it stands out for that reason. Drill is function. It's just pure function. It doesn't really do
They
much.
rarely give it to you.
Yeah.
You don't really get drill until like the middle section of the game, and when you do, it's in underground levels that emphasize the ceiling, and there aren't that many of those. Like, I think it's a cool power up. It's iterating upon what Mario Galaxy did with its drill, and it's faster than that. It has more utility than that. It just doesn't really get the screen time to stand out.
No.
I think it could be cool, but yeah, it doesn't. You don't really get it. It's a situational one. Whereas like the bubble and the elephant aren't. You can use them in any level, and they have purpose. With the drill, you're using it to try and find secrets. You're not really using it to get around the level.
Yeah, pretty much, or make certain things easier. It's very much Frog Suit. Frog Suit is not great on most cases, but when you get that one particular use, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Bubble has a lot of good utility, because if you're just like a standard player, like you're just trying to get through the level, it's kind of like a fire flower, but it goes through walls, and you can then jump on those bubbles to get higher up. But if you're a more practiced player, you can really exploit levels with the bubble. You can get these really cool like speedrun techniques, and in that case, the bubble is leagues ahead. My favorite power up. Elephant's interesting because it's like a melee power-up, and I don't know how many Mario power-ups have done that in the past. Most of them are projectiles. This one is one of the few where you have to be up close to actually attack an enemy.
The only one I can think of is...
like the Mario World Cape, maybe?
The Cape and Raccoon Mario.
Yeah. And there's no flying power-up. I guess the bubble comes the closest to being a flying power-up, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's unique because I think all of the new Super Mario Brothers games, apart from the first one, had flying to some extent. Like you had Flying Squirrel Mario, or the Propeller Suit Mario, or I guess 2 had the Tanuki Suit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's cool just to sort of ground Mario a bit more and emphasize the levels. And yeah, there's so many cool things in here. Like I loved how the goo from Mario Land 2 was kind of brought back for certain levels. Like you can just scroll through footage and like off a playthrough of the game and be like, oh, I loved that bit. That part was so cool. That was so memorable. Like it is a game full of memories. I just wish it had a bit more oomph behind it, though.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of where I feel like it is a fantastic, probably like 9 out of 10 game. Like it just really sticks with you. Has this charm throughout. It is fantastic in that way, but it just had that little bit more oomph, that little bit of bite, at least by the end, more than just the final level. I think it would have stood out a little bit more because it just feels like Final is kind of a major ramp up compared to everything else. To just have the special be a gradual build up to what the final was, could have been a little bit more, I don't know, interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's always potential for more. There could be DLC.
Yep.
New Super Mario Bros. 2 had DLC. You had Luigi U. There's always potential for a follow-up. But I think what I really want is for the next core 2D Mario to not be this. I don't want to fall into the New Super Mario Bros. Trope of just iterating and doing the same thing again. I don't want this to be a stepping stone to the next game. I want the next game to be its own thing that isn't just tied to more Wonder. But that doesn't mean that Wonder has to end now. There always can be more, whether it is DLC or whatever. But there's no taking away from what this game is, which is an exceptional platformer. And if you played Sonic Superstars after or right before it, that's probably going to put that game's quality in a different perspective as well.
Yep. Honestly, let's see them go wild. Let's bring back the concepts of Super Mario Brothers 2.
Oh god, yeah. It's cool that the crouching power-up came back as a badge in this game.
Yeah.
That was super cool.
You don't get to use it that much, honestly, because there's better badges, but still.
It was used pretty well in the final badge gauntlet, I thought.
Yeah, that was probably its most fun.
Mm.
But yeah, honestly, I'd like to see them go to Super Mario Brothers 2 concept again, where you're not jumping on enemies and you're tossing them instead, and I think that could be kind of fun.
Yeah, Doki Doki Panic 2. Make it happen.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, we can talk about Mario Wonder forever. If you want to see even more, Brandon has a pretty fantastic edited video that's nearly half an hour long for you to check out. And I'm sure we'll be talking about this game for years to come. And I'm sure our opinion will shift all over the place. If we talk about this game in a year, we might have a drastically different feeling about where we land. But for now, I think we can both agree it is a tremendous game. One of the best 2D Marios. But whether it is the definitive one, I don't think either of us quite land there. But I also don't disrespect people who do think that, because I can see exactly why they would. It's fantastic. But thank you for watching, everybody, and if you want to, you can support us on patreon.com/gvgaming, where we do a lot of bonus stuff. Like we upload videos early for our patrons to see in advance. You can vote on GVGcast, put topics in there, and so much more. So consider supporting us there if you can. But even if not, thank you for watching this video, and we will catch you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.